Greetings to the best family on YouTube, the EDC family, our EDC family. This is your host, Prophet, with you as always. The professor will be helping with editing and doing all the fun professor things. Today we have a very different video for you folks today. Typically, how we do things is we review a knife. At the end of the video, we'll see if that knife should be proudly carried or buried in our backyard. Well, today we're going to do something a little different. We have Memorial Day coming up, and we wanted to have a very special guest on the channel today. We have my dad with me today, who is a retired military member. And Dad, what was your class when you retired?
I retired as a Master Sergeant, E8.
Wonderful.
Army Reserves.
That is fantastic. And along with my dad's Army background, he has been around knives for most of his life. Knives, guns, you name it, he's been around it, avid hunter. And things have changed in the last 15 years or so in the knife game. As you know, I've designed some stuff myself, and it's out there in the market, and some of you may have some of my designs. And we are working on getting this channel even bigger now. On the table today, we have 15. We were going to do 21, like a 21 gun salute, but yeah, that's not going to happen, folks. We have 15 knives in front of us here on the table. They're in a random order. What we're going to do is let my dad handle these knives. He'll start on the left and move his way to the right. Then what we'll have him do is, as he reviews a knife, he will put it aside. It doesn't really matter, you know, where they go. Then when he's done, he will put them in order from what he thinks are the cheapest to the most expensive. Will be on the right here. And actually, if we're going to do the most expensive on the right, we'll just kind of put it, maybe we'll do the most expensive up top when he figures that out. Yeah, I think we can do that. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
So we are going to do the less expensive in the bottom corner-ish area here, and then we'll just make a line what he thinks. So he'll pick each knife up, take a look at what he feels is the quality of the machining, what he feels the nicest, what he thinks is a positive, maybe even a negative. I don't know what he'll do. We are doing this on a whim. So I'm not really sure how he'll do it, but he'll give a little synopsis of each knife that he's holding, his thoughts on it. He can ask questions. He can ask me the name of the knife, the materials, things like that if he has any questions. And then at the end, we will obviously then put them in the correct order, and we'll see what a retired Master Sergeant from the Army feels about today's knife market and the pricing. Now, Dad, what I will say, as we're sitting here looking at the knives, we are going from less than $100 to over $2,000. There is one custom knife here on the table that is valued at over $2,000. There is a knife that is very well made that you can get for under $100. A lot of the differences that you may not know, we've had a lot of advancements in steels. Dr. Laren Thomas of KnifeSteelNerds.com. We will have that description in the description on the channel here. You'll be able to view that and go to Dr. Laren Thomas's channel at KnifeSteelNerds.com. From there, you'll be able to learn about all the different blade steels, what they're good for, what their use is, what they can be utilized in doing. And as a bonus, there's even a steel that Dr. Laren Thomas invented himself here on the table. And that is in this middle knife here, the Deca. This little guy boasts Dr. Laren Thomas's Magna Cut steel. I'm going to see if we can get that in a better, there we go. So this little guy right here is the Magna Cut steel on the Deca, and that was created by Dr. Laren Thomas of KnifeSteelNerds.com. We've got a wider range of things on the table all over the board. We have a maker, Dad, actually, a Minnesota maker. This gentleman right here, this is the Factor. It is a magnetic driven and magnetic lock knife. Very, very cool. I actually have some of the magnets inside are broken, but the owner of Winterblade or Winterblade Co. The knives are pronounced Winterblade, like you would say Benchmade. They are pronounced Winterblade, but the website is winterbladeco.com. The owner and inventor of these knives is Brian Winters. Brian is a local guy here in my state. He is a Minnesota native, and he is a phenomenal human being. I'm happy to call him a friend, and we are going to see a lot more of his work here on the table as this channel grows. We're nearing our 100 subscriber giveaway here on the channel. More on that after we finish with our interview. So, Dad, we've got a local guy here, created this knife. It's a magnetic-driven knife. We have some karambits by, this actually might be different for you. I would imagine that Chinese knives, when you were growing up, were something you wanted to stay away from.
Yes.
And that's actually a lot of folks who have been in the knife community a long time, still to this day, as you guys know, have a really hard time looking at handling or paying an exorbitant amount for a Chinese knife. The truth is we've got some really great companies now out of China. We have We Knives, we have Riat, and there is obviously a plethora of others. There are some locally made USA knives here on the table. We've got a representation here. This little guy is from Microtech, as you will all know. One thing that I will say, especially to any young people watching this, we are not lawyers. We are only looking at knives today, or maybe recommending knives. Please consult with your local knife laws to know if a knife is legal for you to purchase, buy, carry, etc. Laws are different in every state and can even be different in every province per state. So please speak with someone knowledgeable on knife laws in your community. If the knife laws are not something that you agree with, like us on this channel, please talk to your local congressperson and let's see if we can get some of those changed. And obviously there'll be links in the description with some ways to do that. And there's some really great lobbyists out there for everyday carry, both in knife and gun laws. All right, let's talk a little bit about you. Growing up, do you remember what your first knife was?
Probably a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Were you in the Scouts, or was that just
I
something?
was in the Boy Scouts. Had a lot of pocket knives growing up, but we always broke them because we used to always throw them. So we never had
trees.
Trees. We never had throwing knives. So we used whatever knife we could use, and we broke the handles off a lot of them. I still have a lot of them today without handles.
That's
So,
incredible.
yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people out there that actually make custom handles and scales now, so maybe that's something you can get them working again and throw them at some more trees. Is there any knives that you've owned in your life that have stood out to you?
Gerbers.
Okay.
I carried a Gerber knife through the Army. Always
Fantastic.
liked Gerber.
Okay. So. You heard it straight from the source of an Army guy, folks. Gerber is something that he's trusted and has always been a go-to for him in the past. Let's kind of get into some more questioning here, but I'm going to change seats with my dad here. Let him get in front of the table. So you will see some different hands. And for all you people out there that always comment about how horrible my hands look, my dad's will probably be a little bit better than mine. So, yeah, you can go ahead and tease me all you want in the comment section. All right, let's switch. Come on, little guy. Let's calm down. So, you can start on the left here in a second and just maybe pick it up and let me know if you have any questions. And you want to keep it, if you can, like, there you go. Yeah. And if you need more room, you can push stuff out of the way. So some of them you have to flick them a little harder, by the way.
These type of knives are very unfamiliar to me.
That is a karambit.
So I've never carried one, never held one until today. So.
Oh, wow. They are kind of more for self-defense, but a lot of folks, especially now that's a button lock style knife, so you push the button. Awesome. Yeah, you got to kind of have your hands away and give it a strong flick. A lot of folks with the karambit, this one actually has a little piece up by the hole there, that little plastic part on it. Oh. And what happens is when you put that in your pocket and you pull it out fast, that will catch the edge of your pocket for super fast deployment. Oh. So tell me, how does that feel to you? I know you've never held the karambit, but does it feel cheap? What are some of the ways, does it feel comfortable?
Feels comfortable, but I mean, I guess for a fighting knife, maybe, but for an everyday just utility knife, I don't see the use in it.
Perfect. I 100% agree and understand.
But it seems like aluminum.
It is. It is aircraft grade aluminum.
Yeah.
Damascus, it has a Damascus blade. Very nice Damascus, too.
Yeah. But nice craftsmanship.
All right. So you can put it aside for now. And then we have another karambit blade. This one, however, is very different. You might actually have trouble opening it, so be careful. The reason that it opens like that, it is a gravity karambit knife. It's made for ultra fast deployment with your hands. It doesn't have any type of hesitation to open up if you open it up in the correct way. And it closes very funny too. And it's definitely something where, for you kids watching at home, it can be pretty dangerous. Does it feel different than the first karambit?
No, I mean, it's kind of not used to this style. So I'd have to, it's the first time I held one. So,
Well, second, technically.
second, yeah, technically. I like this handle's a little small
Okay.
for my hand, but I like the first handle a lot better than this one.
Wonderful.
But I like the length of this blade.
Okay.
If, you know.
Kind of keep that in mind when you're putting them together when you think pricing there. This next knife is a really interesting knife, and it's one of the first that I know of its kind. This knife is what they call an integral style handle or scale. As you notice, it's not two pieces.
Yeah.
So it's one piece of G10. A lot of times where you see these knives, Dad, they're done in titanium, or aluminum, so they're machined out. This is them machining out a solid piece of G10, which to me is incredible. Obviously, they've had to add a few metal pieces in order to get the knife to balance, move, things like that. But
this
one solid knife.
I like this one. Looks like a good utility knife.
All right.
Yeah, something that I would probably
Wonderful.
carry.
So this next knife is, again, a local guy here in our state. What you do is that, so you got to hold it. There's a lot of ways to deploy it. But that little green thing, you push it down like a button right here. Yep.
Okay.
And then you let the magnets do it. It's careful, Dad.
Yeah. Okay.
You can also hold that little lock down here and flip it open, or you can flip it open with the hole in the blade as well. Now, the magnets inside are broken, so it's not flinging out the normal way it does. I tried to take it apart and did it incorrectly. Brian, the owner of the company, had sent me a video and also sent me the sites where to pick the magnets up. I do have them here in the desk. I wanted to do a video with our community together on replacing them.
Very interesting knife. Different.
So this one was considered at the time that it was made. This is one of their first generations. This is done by a Canadian guy named John Grimsmo. He owns the company with his brother, Eric, I believe his name is. They do fantastic work. John always wanted to design it. John and his brother always wanted to design their own knife. They designed this one as their first knife and their flagship knife. One of the things about this knife is it's done by CNC machine every step of the way. To get the blade where they want it, they actually use nitrogen cooling. So they actually press the blade between two plates and supercool it with liquid nitrogen in order to get the cool down process to give the blade a very unique, hard, but yet not brittle feeling. And it's a really interesting shape, as you can see.
Yes, a very interesting. I mean, it's an interesting knife, interesting blade. I don't know if I'd carry something like that. I like the weight. I like the handle size.
They've got titanium handles, RWL 34 for the blade steel. And what a lot of folks liked about this at the time, there wasn't a lot of people that were designing knives and machines that were precision. If you were to unlock that knife and let the blade drop, it drops very freely. You can actually cut yourself if you're not careful. Yeah. So, I mean, it's the precision. That's really what they were known for a long time. And they've since made a lot of different things and done some different things.
That's quite an interesting blade type. So
this one is Benchmade.
Benchmade.
Now, you're going to see that it's actually really hard coming out right now. That knife's never been used, so it doesn't have any... I haven't really got it used to being opened and closed. That knife is the one on the table that represents, it's a Benchmade knife. However, it's a Benchmade knife that has been sent to another company in Alaska before it was released, and they do special designs on them and special portions. So as you can see, that's PVD coated all the way through the knife with special design. A lot of that stuff's hand done on there. It has a glow-in-the-dark back spacer. I do have the pocket clip off of it right now because I was going to change it out. So I apologize for that, folks. But that is a Benchmade knife that has been third-partied to a lot of unique specifications.
Oh, that is a nice... Benchmades are very quality. That is nice. I like...
It's one of the ones so far.
I like that one. That's a nice one.
This is another really well-known company, Dad, that you might not know of. They're here in the States as well, and this knife is called the Atom.
That is.
They make one called the Neutron as well. And we'll have all the everything in the description. One of the things that's really unique about this knife you're holding is it's very thin blade stock, Dad, and so it's super slicey. It's very light, and another really unique feature is it uses titanium frame inside, but then they put G10 or different scales that you can screw on. You can take those scales off, and there's a skeleton, and you can change them out to whatever you like. And they sell a lot of really awesome and beautiful different handles for it.
I do like the blade style, though.
It's fantastic. And they do an excellent job
Nice
heat treating.
blade.
It's all USA made. And the company is exceptional when they're on social media. They do a really good job on social media.
I like the size and the weight. I mean, for the size and the weight, it's a good knife to be carrying around.
It's very popular. Very popular knife. So this is actually a really, really unique one as well, Dad. And folks, you're going to see scratches on some of these things or fingerprints. I use my knives for the most part. So this one, the side that you were just looking at, that's called the show side of a knife. And if you kind of put it straight to the camera there you go. That is a type of titanium called Timascus. They take different types of titanium and forge weld them together. It was something that previously was unheard of and unknown, and now a lot of folks can do it. To my knowledge, there is still a patent on it by a gentleman.
No, I like the blade style, just because it looks innovative, but it's not something I'd definitely have in my collection of knives, but using wise, I don't know.
It's more utilitarian blade shape. It's called the QSP Penguin. They're a Chinese company that does a really good job with getting their knives looking nice.
Yeah. No, it's a nice knife. It's like another one that's got some good weight to it.
Now this one, we talked a little about, it's a lightweight knife. It's made to kind of disappear in your pocket. Again, I do have the clip off this one. This gentleman that made this knife, excuse me folks, the gentleman who made this knife used to work with Benchmade, and they did a lot of Benchmade knives called the Griptilian. When his contract was up with Benchmade, he started working with Hogue, and that is one of his knives with Hogue. Resembles a lot of the parts on it resemble a Benchmade. That steel is a very unique steel that has recently been come out and made by a guy named Dr. Laren Thomas, who's engineered the steel. He originally engineered it for tooling, things like that, but it actually, when you harden it to a very hard Rockwell scale, 63 plus, it turns into a blade that is perfect for everyday carrying.
I like the blade. And it feels a quality blade, but this handle, I mean, I got some $3 knives that have better handles than this.
The problem is you're dealing with a handle that's made out of FRN. It's a lightweight compound material or composite material. So it's actually a lot more quality than it feels. However, you're right. It does take some getting used to. And it is specifically made for very lightweight everyday carry. The next one on our table, we just did a video on here on the channel. It's a Spyderco knife. This one's unique because no matter what the price is on it, there are knife pirates out there who buy them when they come up for sale and sell them on the aftermarket sites for ungodly amounts of money. Folks, because of the video, and we're really big into no knife pirates here at Carrier Burry, what we're going to do is we are going to use the pricing for the MSRP for the Spyderco knife, and instead of the aftermarket pricing. So I understand what they can go for on the aftermarket, but for the case of this video, MSRP is what we're dealing with.
I gotta say, this is a really nice knife. I like this one too. I like the handle. It's got it's not too heavy and it's not really light.
And it's made of pure titanium.
Yeah,
I think it's 64L or something like that.
I like the blade. I like this knife. This is a very nice knife.
All right. The next one, we've got a very unique lock style. The Demko brothers, whom unfortunately I don't have a knife representing them on the channel, they do a lot of innovations in knife locks. And a lot of people will start on one of their ideas. You have to kind of pull it back.
Oh.
Yep. Oh. You careful.
Very loose blade. Okay.
It's very fidgety.
Wow.
But it honestly locks up extremely tight. You would be very, very amiss to have a failure with this.
Yeah, that's a nice blade, domestic.
Very beautiful Damascus blade. You have ivory G10 handles with speed holes built in them. That's to bring the weight down. And it gives it an aesthetic as well. And there's chamfering that they even put in there. That knife is actually made by a Chinese company called Civivi, who, believe it or not, is on the budget side of the parent company, We Knives. So they're one of the best knife companies in the world, and they are a Chinese-owned and operated company, but they bring out the most incredible knives and the most beautiful designs. They work with a lot of makers from all over the world. They do a great job.
Yeah, this is a nice knife. I don't think it'd be an everyday carry type knife. It'd be more of a put in my knife collection.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. As you can see from us trying to even find 15 knives here, our counter has got about 60 knives on it right now.
Good old buck.
Yeah, I put this one on the table specifically for you. This little guy is on borrow. I do not own this knife. I am going to sharpen it and make it look really nice. It's for my old boss. Very nice young guy. And I'm going to make it look like new for him. He has gutted many deer with that knife.
I remember when these came out on the market, I had to have one. And everybody carried them.
Okay, yeah. What's your first experience with this one?
This was a knife that everybody carried. It came out with a leather sheath, and people wore it on their belts. And I couldn't wait till I got out of college to buy my own.
That's awesome. You still have it?
Yeah. Yes, I do have that one. I've lost one of these before. That was the second one I bought. I lost it when I was deer hunting in the woods. So, a little bit bigger one, but it was the same type.
What are your thoughts on this one, Dad? Chris is going to have fun with this.
This one is an unusual knife. Like I said, I mean, this one, I've said before on some of the other ones, more of a collector type knife that I would collect and put in my collection and display case.
So if you turn that knife for the camera down the spine area, like turn it, like that, you notice how one of the pieces is larger than the other piece?
Oh, yeah.
So one of the pieces on that knife is a sheet of pure titanium that has been forge welded, which again is called Damascus. And the pocket clip is as well. They're both Damascus.
Wow. No, it's a very interesting knife. Like it's just not something I would particularly carry.
Does it feel heavy for you?
It's got a lot of weight to it. And
does it feel well made?
Yes, it is.
Would it surprise you to know that that is a custom made knife and every part of it is handmade, including the screws?
No, it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
I mean, it does look like it's a handmade, custom made knife.
Unfortunately, the maker, I own 2 of his knives. He's not doing it anymore. The maker is not making knives anymore, but I do have 2 of them. Have you held an out the front knife?
Yes, before.
That one's got a very hard one. You got to go all the way till it clicks. There you go.
This is a this is a very cool knife.
USA made company as well, a military owner. That's a Microtech
Yeah.
knife.
I do, this is a very nice, very cool knife. It is.
Folks, you're going to be able to hear squeaking. There's not much we can do about that. Chaos is on a tantrum because my parents are here, and he's having a lot of fun with Grandma right now.
This is a very cool knife. I like this one, too.
All right.
It's got a,
And for our
it's
15th
got a
and
nice-
final. Oh, yeah, it's got a
got a
very nice
nice
window
feel.
breaker on it and all that good
yeah,
stuff.
and it's just the size of it really feels good in your hands.
And finally, we have one more.
Very interesting, very custom.
And I am going to go out and help with the dog. And Dad, I'm going to leave you alone in the room. What I'd like you to do is put the knives in a row. And again, the most expensive one you think up here in the corner. And the cheapest one down here on this black screen in the corner on the Profit hanky there. Then you are just going to put them in order. You're not going to be here for the end results. Obviously, I will email them to you, or you can see the video when it goes live. But I wanted to thank you, Dad, for being here. This means a lot to me.
Yeah, no, this has been fun. I've enjoyed it. You know, I've always enjoyed knives, so this is really cool to see your collection.
Oh, this is nothing. Awesome. All right, folks, my dad is going to be out of here. Or my dad, Master Sergeant, retired, Army Reserves. Thanks you all. He will be taking off here shortly with my mom. I'm going to leave him alone in the studio. All right, Dad, your mic's on. You're good. You can feel free to say a few things while you're doing it. Like, this is why I'm putting this here. I feel that this might not be as good as this. Just take a few seconds. Don't just throw it. Don't forget that you're on camera.
That's okay. I will try to do my best to put something
You're
in
doing
order
great.
here. But and see which one actually. We'll try to rank these in some type of order. I hate to say this, but I do believe that is probably one of the most expensive knives here. And with this custom one, and this another custom knife that they always seem to be more expensive. Hate to say that the good old trusty knife was probably the cheapest out of all the ones here. So even though this has a cheaper handle, it does lend itself to a more expensive knife. Not knowing enough about these knives, they are and they're from China. Just my experience from Chinese guns. So I will grab John and bring him back into the room.
Welcome back, EDC family. This is Prophet again. I wanted to thank you. As you all know, starting a YouTube channel, well, some of you may or may not know that starting a YouTube channel is not always easy. There are a lot of growing pains, if you will. We're working through those. And together, I think that we can really make something beautiful. For all of you that have supported us so far, I thank you. Professor thanks you. Let's carry on with the video. As you all remember, we had someone very special on the channel. My dad, Master Sergeant retired from the U.S. Army Reserves. We went through his lifestyle of knife ownership, some of the first knives he's owned, some of his favorite knives he's owned. And we had a really neat thing that we did together. We laid down 15 knives that were very random and had him put them in what he thought would be from the least expensive all the way to the most expensive knife. We obviously want to give you the actual number here, but did he get anything right? Yeah, he actually did. Super great. One of the things I can say is the buck 110 he put down here at the end, thinking that that was the knife that would be the easiest to buy on this list, and he was correct. It is this knife. So he had that one absolutely right. So folks, my dad got really close to the most expensive knife on the list as well. This here is a custom knife made by Phantom Steelworks. Also, the maker's name is Chris Martin. Chris bought a lot of his materials from the infamous Chad Nichols, and he did use on this show side scale. It's hard for me to get it out in the camera, but because he's got the cuts in it here, and he's flamed it as well. But this is one solid piece of titanium that is forge welded and is known as Timascus. You can see it a little bit here and there. Unfortunately, one of his designs is he decided to strike through some of this. I suppose you could redo it if you wanted to, but this is the maker's vision and his original design, so I've kept it the way that it is. We are looking at millimeters here. We're looking at 3.52 millimeters of the Timascus material, and it has a very thick 4.8 or so millimeter portion of regular flame titanium. And then again, we have another very large piece of Timascus in the clip side here. The clip is also made of that Timascus, and you have a very large piece of steel here. So this is an M390 piece of steel, and this actually is really neat too because it's not only satin finished, but as you can see, it's a chiseled ground, hand chiseled ground titanium. Very, very cool full-size dub here. The price on this particular knife is $2,000, and it was a custom knife. So you're paying a lot in time and material, things of that nature. We have a couple more of this gentleman's knives here at the compound, and we will go over them at a later date. So we have number one, and the biggest pricey one, since we were close, we have the Phantom Steelworks custom dub, and he did have correct in the last place here. We obviously have the buck 110 traditional folder. Let's kind of go through now going towards the top, since we have the top and the second top. I'd love to see what you have in the comments. We have the most expensive knife already laid out for you, and we have the least expensive knife on the table already laid out for you. And everywhere in between, we're going to be from about $89 USD up to about $1,000 USD, and everywhere in between. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take these knives and move them over a bit here. We don't want to make this video stupid long, but we want to have some room so we can get in and get you a look at some of these knives up close. And if you want to see future videos on any of these knives, please let me know. We're going to start on the left-hand side right here. And again, I'd love to see in the comments what your thought was. Go ahead and put that in the comments now. I'm going to assume you did. This one is really interesting, coming in at $89. It is a Kaiser knife. This here is the Kaiser Brat. We're going to clean it up for camera here. We are looking here at the Kaiser Brat. Very wonderful and unique knife with 154 cm blade stock. Very large knife. For large hands like mine, it fits extremely well. Don't have any complaints. We have a button lock. Most notably on this guy though, we actually have a full, and I mean completely full integral folder here. It is made of G10. It is cut out of one solid piece of G10, and obviously then they add the hardware through the top here. Very interesting knife, coming in at $89, above the $69 of the buck 110. The next knife up is going to be another really cool knife. This one is the Civivi Vision FG. This knife is one of my favorite little knives, and if you remember, my dad had nothing but good things to say about this. Although he did say he would not carry this knife, we did hear him say that he would love to have something like this in his collection, which I thought was really neat. Now, folks, forgive me. I know that there's scratches on the knives. I do use my knives. We want to use them for our reviews. And this knife is neat. It actually has their version of some of the nice locking mechanisms that you see being innovated out there. And this version here is the Super Lock. So this is called the Super Lock by We and Civivi Knives. So this little guy right here is super fun. You've got the thumb studs, you've got the Super Lock. It is very fidgety. I really like this knife. It's got the pearl handles. You've also got the Damascus blade. These come in right now around $139. All right. We are not too much further up the list from going, I'm sorry, these come in at $119, forgive me. The next knife up is $139. That is also a Civivi knife. This here is the Civivi Incisor 2. It is a karambit, as you can see. Damascus blade as well. Very nice Damascus blade, I should say, on this one. Came super sharp. This knife is really unique as well. It has red aluminum handles, a hawkbill blade. It does come with a button lock. Really nice feature of this knife is it has a defense deploying mechanism. When you have this knife in your pocket, utilizing the pocket clip, and you were to pull the knife out of your pocket quickly, it will catch on your pants if you do it the correct way, causing it to fling open and be ready for self-defense. Very, very cool. As you remember though, my dad did not have a lot of experience with karambit knives. In fact, the first two here he held were the first two here that we have in this little display. So we're going to put that guy right there. And that again was $139. That brings us to the $155 price tag. And what could it be? I'm going to move this guy over here a little bit. I bet you thought I was going to grab it. It is this, the Hogue Knives Deca. This is awesome because you get a really nice compact blade and it has a very, very fantastic blade steel. This blade steel on this bad boy is going to be with the Magna Cut. So you've got a Wharncliffe Magna Cut blade. And if you remember, the Magna Cut blades were developed by Dr. Laren Thomas of KnifeSteelNerds.com. We usually have him in our descriptions. Give him a check. He's got a lot of interesting things on the channel. He is a wizard when it comes to blade steels. So you get something else with this. You get their what they call their polymer handle. It's basically an FRN type handle or a lightweight polymer handle. Some people don't like it. As you remember, my dad did not like it. He said it felt kind of light and cheap, kind of like the old gas station knives of his day. Again, this guy coming in at a whopping $155. Very nice choice at that price point. The next knife is actually the one right next to it. So you actually get two knives for this, and I'll show you both real quick. You get a practice and a real knife, and these are also known as gravity knives. So these are not your typical karambit knives like this button lock one here. These are gravity knives, so please check with your state to make sure this is something you can purchase. I am not going to show you the opening mechanism on this at full speed, just because it is not really probably ideal on camera. What you'll want to do here, you're holding it, oh goodness. When you're holding the karambit, you're holding it in an upside down fashion. You're going to push the button lock here, you're going to fling it open, and you're going to close it. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you very quick, easy gravity access to the karambit style blade. Very beautiful knife. Closing these guys is where a lot of the issues can come in, not so much in the opening. So as you can see, we've got our serial number and our build on date here on the knife, which is really neat. We're going to get this one closed and pop it right here. This is, fortunately for practice, you do get this little guy, and this is the practice blade that you get with it. It is not going to cut you or hurt you in any way. Rounded here, speed holes in it. It is not sharpened. I'm not sure the material, to be honest with you. It does feel like it is aluminum, but I'm not quite sure. So we're going to go ahead and put these knives next to each other. I'll put this right on top here. And it's a 2-knife set. So you get the 2-knife set, and you're going to get that Riet XOK set of karambit knives for about $225, depending on where you're shopping. Now, QSP is going to be the next one up. And this is a special edition of QSP. The interesting portion of this is QSP Penguin, which is the name of this knife. You can actually pick one up on Amazon for as low, and I mean this, for as low as about $33. $32.66 is what we found it at. This is not your normal one. This has Damascus on the show side, titanium on the back side that is anodized purple with a Damascus clip. It also has a better blade steel than normal. And again, forgive me folks, I have used this knife and I should try to polish it back up to its full luster here. It was very nice when I bought it. You'll have to forgive us, we do use our knives. I wanted to see how their S35VN steel held up to other S35VN knife steels, and we wanted to get that looked at. I'll get my fingerprints off this guy for one more quick look at it for you folks. Let me grab that stuff out of there for you, and there we are. One final look at that beautiful Damascus, very well done. We are going to put this little frame lock guy away. Again, you can pick up a normal D2 steel version of this guy, and you'll be able to pick that up honestly for as little as $32.66 on Amazon. We are finding a hard place to put it where it is showing off its love here. There we go. That's good enough, I say. Now, let's see here. That's going to bring us to our next knife. We're jumping from the $250 special edition price range to the $289 price range. This is a USA company. This is TRM, or Three Rivers Manufacturing. This is the Atom. Folks, if you don't know of the Atom or know of the Nerd or the other wonderful knives that this company offers, they are wonderful little slicers. They're lightweight. A lot of people that own these knives only carry these knives and they really don't have love for anything else. You have a crazy thin blade stock here. And at the thickest point, we're at about 2.3 millimeters, which is almost mind-boggling. So for those of you who are here in the States and you want to tend to take a peek at what that looks like in inches, you're going to be looking at about you're going to be looking at just under 90 thou, which is absolutely mind-boggling. 90 thou blade stock steel, mind-boggling. And behind the edge here and behind the tip, it gets even thinner. They do have customizable grips. You can change these out at will. You've got also color customizable little thumb stud bumpers, which is really neat as well. Again, you can pick these guys up for around $289. I can't recommend a better knife. We will have this one on the channel soon. We will not be doing a Carrier Burry version of this one because it is definitely not going to be buried. We'll tell you that now. The next knife on the list, going from $289 to about $325, is this special edition of the Benchmade Bug Out. This knife is actually called the Far Out Bug Out, and it's really neat design, and it's a really neat knife, and it's brought to you by Colorful Filth and Northern Knives, located in the USA in the Alaska area. I can't remember a ton on the original pricing on this. From what I was able to locate on the internet, it is around that $325. So it was purchased by me in 2020, and I got to be honest, when I was doing the little bit of research on this to get it up on the channel here to find out what I paid for it back in the day, I couldn't find it, but the prices have skyrocketed, and that tells us that we have a lot of knife pirates out there that are utilizing things like this. But what a beautifully done knife. I honestly have never used this one. As you can see, it doesn't have any scratches. It's still really tight. Has not even been broken in. In fact, I even took the pocket clip off of it and put it in the box for showing, just so I don't scratch it up or get any scratches on the paint. So I've removed the pocket knife literally just to make sure that we're not messing up any of this. That's kind of what I did. These are serial numbered. My serial number is 265. I wonder if we can bring that in a little nicer for you. Wonderful. So we are going to move this guy, and we're going to put the Bug Out Special right there. Going to get these guys moved over. The next knife on the list is a Minnesotan, fellow Minnesotan. This is made by Brian Winters, And this, my friends, we are going to have a review coming out very soon, a Carrier Burry full review on this knife. This is the Factor B2 or version 2. I chose this one with the color schemes. I love zombie green or lime green, however you want to call it. I got to be honest with you folks, you're not getting the full Factor here right now because taking it apart to clean it, I broke some of the magnets. Mr. Brian Winters was kind enough to send me the links where I can get the magnets again, even stronger ones if I'd like. And I will be on the channel disassembling and showing you folks how that works to see that even a guy that when he first took it apart broke everything can regain the confidence to come back and redo it. Even with the magnets being broken, it still works. You push the back button and the magnets help fly the knife forward. It is an absolutely incredible piece of innovation. Magnets, I'm telling you, instead of steel wearing out over the years, these have a lifespan that will surpass us by far. All right, folks, the next knife on our list is going to be, drum roll, we are looking at the Microtech Ultratech Signature Series. This particular guy has got, we've actually done a video of this Microtech Ultratech on the channel. Microtech is another USA made knife. They are known for their snappy and fantastic out the front style knives. This one here, as you can see, has the wonderful jimping here all throughout the knife. It's actually their raised tri-grip on their Signature Series. This one does come as well with the copper hardware. This knife, as you can see, is their TE version, or their titanium single edge is what that means. When I purchased this knife, it was $425. They have come down since then, and they're right around $375. However, I wanted to put the Winter Blade one right before it just because I had paid more for this guy when it was new. Moving on, we have our last few knives here. This one here is the Spyder Coastless Bowie. Again, we have a full video. We'll link that in the details. These are about $450 from the MSRP side of things. However, if you watched our video or if you know much about these knives, this is another knife that the knife pirates really try to get their hands on and sell for an exorbitant amount on the aftermarket sites. This guy comes in at about $450 MSRP. Again, full video. Now, we've got just a couple knives left here. The Grimsmo Norseman. We will absolutely be doing a full review on this. This is one of John and Eric's older Norsemans. The number on this particular Norseman is 1399. I think it was in about 2018 when this one was built. Obviously, they've had more innovation and they've really kind of refined their processes since this knife was made. It still holds up. It's a classic. It is about as drop shutty as you can get. You got to kind of get your fingers out of the way. It's a guillotine. But I absolutely love this knife. I know a lot of people aren't super into the way that the blade is shaped. Not me. It was the reason I sought this knife out. And this was a holy cow moment for me. I found a picture of this knife online. I wanted it. When I went to the site to locate it, it was not only out of stock, but they were about $700 at the time. And you couldn't find one. And I thought, $700 for a pocket knife, holy cow. I ended up paying about $1,000 for this guy. And that was right around 2019, 2020. I love it. It was a good purchase for me. I'm not unhappy with it at all. I will also show you the newer versions, the contoured versions, in another video that we'll do. Now, we have one knife left. As you remember, my dad put this guy up at the top, right? He did. So, was he close? Is it going to go right under our custom knife here? No. The really interesting thing on this one, folks, this is a no-name OTF. I purchased it online. I believe it was in, oh goodness, I want to say 2018-ish. At the time, it was the first time that this particular online OTF company had a knife over $100 that they were listing on their site. It does have an abalone inlay. It also has a rear abalone inlay, and it has an abalone inlay on the blade. Wow, that is a fingerprint-ridden blade. This blade is known as a double-edged dagger style blade. It does have the really unique, holy cow, and again folks, I use my knives. It has the unique inlay here in the center. Let's see if I can get that on camera for you folks, of that abalone. It shines through, it's translucent, it's real abalone shell. It's unbelievable. It's a beautiful knife, which is most likely why Sergeant Master retired Dad put it in the top here. Does it go in the top? Is it anywhere near the top? No. I paid $140 for this guy, which is going to put it right above the incisor here. So I'm going to move this over just a little bit. This is where that guy went. Folks, this is the final layout from the least expensive that we quizzed my dad with on Memorial Day, all the way up to the most expensive custom knife that he held in his hands, going through the collection. I know there's knives in the background, folks. We have a lot of knives here at the compound. We will get to all of them in our reviews and even more. We thank you all. We look forward to growing with you all. And we also hope that you enjoyed our Star Wars video. We have lots of videos to come. The next full review we're going to be doing is going to be on the Factor. So get ready. We're going to hopefully magnetize the pros and cons of this guy, and we'll find out if we're going to come on the North or the South Pole of carrying it. You know how I roll, guys. Folks, thank you so much for watching this video and supporting us. You can find us, as usual, on most social media apps by simply searching for @CarrierBurry. Or you can go to the description and click on the links there. Just look for our logo. Now, until next time, EDC family, keep those blades sharp, keep those flashlights charged, and if you're like me, keep those band-aids close. Now remember, you are the best tool in your EDC loadout. God bless. See you next time. And for the Memorial Day, God bless and thank you to all of our men and women and our veterans in the U.S. military. We love you. We appreciate you. Our freedoms, we sometimes take for granted, but you are always in our prayers and in our hearts. Bye, everybody.